Askreddit. Redditors. What's your most crazy RPG horror story? Been lurking for a while, decided to share one of my horror stories. Cast, me, with a true neutral vengeance paladin. A neutral good lore bard. A true neutral way of the elements monk. A wild sorcerer. And Edgy, the chaotic evil barbarian and the designed nightmare of this story. So, yeah, from the start I knew the barbarian was gonna be trouble. First session he showed up last minute, with absolutely no backstory. He didn't even had a character, just threw something together in about 10 minutes before starting, no exaggeration here. When asked about his character, you can probably guess what he said. He's an orphan, he was abandoned, so he had to steal everything he could. Then he killed someone, a seasoned warrior no less, and loved it, so he never stopped killing. Yeah. Moving on to the meeting of the party, his character didn't react and didn't say a ting until some of the townspeople recognized him, friends of the seasoned warrior his, level 1, barbarian had killed in combat. Edgy slammed his fist on the table and yelled that he didn't care about the people he murdered. So, yeah, I knew trouble was approaching. Everything went fine for the first couple of sessions. Edgy was just really edgy and quiet and mysterious and angry and probably searching for his brother who murdered his family and left him behind or something. Mostly, the party just ignored him. He wasn't creating any trouble and was just a boring character. Until we got a mission to escort some travelers out of the woods to a city nearby. For some freaking edgy lordy reason he decided that the travelers needed to die, and proceeded to attack them. They weren't completely hopeless, and fought back. The party didn't want to fight the travelers, especially because we needed the money, so everybody just tried to stop the fight as best as we could. The bard started creating illusions trying to make it seem we were being ambushed by big and angry creatures. The monk and me were trying to physically make everybody stop, and the sorcerer was trying to charm Edgy and make him stop. Nothing worked, until my paladin hit with enough damage to knock Edgy unconscious and stop the manslaughter. Needless to say, the travelers demanded his head. We refused, as moronic and bloodlusty as he was still a party member, so, with a bit of persuasion and a bit of intimidation, the travelers agreed to let him live, as long as he was tied up and unarmed for the rest of the trip. We obliged. Edgy, not so much. After tying him up, we asked if he was okay, if the ropes were too tight and all. Edgy screamed at us that the party was a bunch of traitors, helping the enemies instead of him, why weren't we helping him and all that jazz, all the while not giving us absolutely no reason why he did what he did, so the agreement with the travelers stayed in place. When asked one last time if he was fine and if he could give us his reasons now he screamed he would kill us all, he would break the ropes and slaughter all of the party. All of the while whining to us that we were jerks for not helping him. Edgy started rolling to break the ropes, failing miserably each time, and getting more and more frustrated, and never stopping the never-ending parade of telling the rest of the players he would kill our characters, how he would kill our characters and how he would rape our characters' dead bodies. The party got annoyed with this and decided they couldn't trust this guy, he was freaking threatening us for God's sake. So, after he insulted my paladin's deity, my paladin took the rest of his stuff away and tied him up with a stronger rope. The session ended before we got to the city we're supposed to and Edgy's player proceeded to argue with me, saying that he was going to kill us, because his barbarian is the strongest in the party, you know, because barbarians are the only class that's strong, and we can't defeat him, because Raji Ebiatsi right Thngugioishv. I showed my average smite damage, 2/3 of his, badly rolled, HP. He then started to ignore me and whine some more that I was ruining his fun, that I was against him, that I didn't understand RP at all, even if he was the only evil character in a mostly neutral, with sprinkles of good, party, and he knew that since he created his character after everyone else had theirs already made. He complained that no one at the party even tried to get to know his character, so he had no reason to not want to kill our characters, even when every single time he answered with he stares and doesn't say a thing. But no, I was making everyone target him, because I didn't like him. To be fair, when he presented his character, I made an edgy lore joke. Then everyone made an edgy lore joke. Then, when we got bored of him answering every question the same, we all made edgy lore jokes. I guess he was angry that we treated his character as a joke and didn't think Edgy was as cool and amazing as he thought he was. I honestly think he got tired of having his antics mostly ignored and tried to show how an amazing combatant he was. Bottom line is, he didn't show any signs of dropping the game and, if he shows up next time, I'm going to kill his character of. My paladin certainly can't trust Edgy after all the threats, and I can't trust Edgy's player, because he seems to be out for my blood. So, I ask you guys, would I be the a-hole if I killed the character? If so, what do you guys suggest I do about it? Because clearly talking about it is not going to work. Buckle up, kids. So, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with this couple a couple of years ago. We'll call them Simon and Kathy. The group that me and S&C played with worked pretty well together in the beginning. We had fun both in game and out of game, smooth sailing and all that. But, and it's a big but, fast forward a few years and the problems started flooding in. To clarify, it wasn't all them, of course not, but a lot of it was. Kathy and Simon started to disagree with how one of the other players acted while in character. Everything he did, no matter what, seemed to rub them the wrong way. Every minor action from him resulted in them getting offended, even though they'd worked well together in the past. And there was no apparent reason behind it. They never spoke about it either. Just pouted for the rest of the session whenever he did something wrong. Once they even accused his character of rape out of thin air. Nothing he did indicated that's where the situation was going. Everyone was in total shock when they said it. They told me afterwards that they didn't think he'd actually do it, but got angry nonetheless and felt the need to set him straight. Eventually everybody's actions started to bother them. They got disproportionately angry about things that happened in game, and held grudges all throughout the campaign. They accused another character in the group of being malicious because her character risked her life to save her best friend, but was forced to make a pact with the beg as payment for their lives being spared. They got angry and demanded her character be forced to change alignment from good to evil. We questioned their reasoning, saying that the act was selfless. They didn't answer. As usual. This happened every time we asked them to clarify their opinion. They'd get quiet. They could never explain why they thought in a certain way or defend their standpoint, but still refused to change their minds. And they always agreed with one another. Kathy played a character that was very much a stuck-up noblewoman who didn't really want to be an adventurer to begin with. She had a habit of acting verbally abusive toward the rest of the group, snapping her fingers while demanding they did stuff for her. Which could have been really fun to play off of, if she hadn't gotten angry when we didn't do as her character demanded. Her character eventually went on to blame the group for everything bad that had ever happened to her in life, but still insisted on going with the group. All the while criticizing each and every one of their actions along the way. Simon's characters were somewhat better. They didn't interact much with the group but at least tried to be friendly. However, he was always afraid of anything that might endanger the life of his character. If the group walked into a trap, you knew damn well he'd be upset with us for not being more careful for the remainder of the adventure. Once he straight up said that if his character died he wouldn't want to play the game anymore. He also said that if our characters didn't act more good he'd drop out as well. Imagine this kind of stuff going on every session for a year. It was mostly minor things, but even then it resulted in them pouting for the rest of the session. They got mad for everything we did in game that wasn't considered good, even though we never said we'd play heroes or anything like that. Our DM wanted everyone to pick our alignments freely. Kathy had a habit of complaining to me about the actions of the group after every session, always saying how she hated that everyone's character but theirs were evil, though most of them were neutral or good. We had one character that was neutral evil. It turned out the problem was they both hated that the group wanted a reward each time we completed a quest for an NPC. I always tried to set her straight as calm and diplomatic as I could, even though my patience began to run thin after a while. I wanted them to work with the group, because we'd been friends for a long time. But whenever I asked her why she felt this way about the group I was accused of not caring about her. Any situation where I questioned her, or I held her accountable in any resulted in her saying that I didn't give a shit about her. It all came crashing down when the guy who they were always mad at snapped back and told them off. He confronted them with everything they'd done that made the game suck for him. He told them that he didn't enjoy the game anymore because it felt like he couldn't do anything or they'd get mad. He was pretty harsh about it. Other people in the group also stepped in, though not as harsh and more inquisitive, asking where their anger came from, and what we could do to make the game fun for everyone involved, including them. They didn't actually respond to any of it, but mumbled they'd work on it, but for now they'd rather play instead of talk. Narrator: they didn't work on it. If most things set them off before the confrontation, everything set them off afterwards. The anger became worse. But at least now they actually spoke up about it, though always in a more aggressive manner. And, as always, when we asked them to explain the things they mentioned made them angry, they stopped talking to us altogether. And then, a few months later, they both dropped out of the game. For no other reason than they didn't have time to play anymore. Kathy told me later that the real reason was because no one in the group stepped in to protect her from the hatred the other guy directed toward her during the final confrontation. That it was clear that no one cared about her or Simon at all. There were further discussions after that, though I won't go into those because oh boy we do not have the time. But we don't talk anymore. She accused me one too many times of not caring, so I made the decision to let the friendship go. It was hard as duck and still bums me out. Anyway, that's my long story. I hope that it didn't sound like they were the ones with all the issues and that the rest of us acted like goddamn saints throughout the whole ordeal. That was not at all my intent. Thanks to anyone who took the time to read. Hello there. If you have an interesting story, and you want it to be shared, write it in the comments section. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the video press like and subscribe for more awesome stories.